This is the Navajo way of greeting. Yata e. All is well. Okay, that's starting the subject. Bridget in Navajo is changing woman. Atana ilihe, the woman who rejuvenates herself again and again. Now, I'm one of the factors or something that is constantly working to decolonize the knowledge of our First Nations, our histories and our cultures. That goes for language and culture and other things. So that's what you're hearing from me all the time. So get on with it or get over it. And so I'm going to start right off with this reading of Changing Woman. She is the sovereign of our Turtle Island. Changing Woman is a sphinx-like quality. She is the mystery of creation, of life springing from nothing. She is the original and last hope of our world. She is the riddle of herself. She is the big question, perpetually solved and perennially springing up anew, constantly evolving and solving, resolving and birthing new questions and riddles. She made humans from the dirt rubbed from her body, and unknowingly created Coyote from dirt from under the fingernail of her little pinky. Coyote then preceded her and gave her the knowledge of herself, the powers of her feminine essence, which are imperishable and eternal. Yeah. So all of this display has to do with this. Her fantastic birth as it was on Chouli's, called Spruce Peak in New Mexico. And this is my portrait of that as her birthplace. And it was that there was some atmospheric disturbance going on over this mountain. And Rockshirt, who is a horny toad person, he saw that. And so he set up these Fort 6. So that was at night. So then in the daytime, he could see, you know, where that was happening and made it up there. He made it up there and found, you know, this baby. This is this petroglyph that I have replicated. I found this petroglyph in New Mexico. At the time, there was nothing around there. I don't know about nowadays. This was 50, 60 years ago. It was on a big boulder. I didn't add anything except I knew the colors like that. So you were starting right here. This is a baby in the shape of turquoise, and up here this represents a white bead or white shell. So then she starts out as white bead girl, who also becomes a white shell woman. And up here, this was on a petroglyph. Here's the mountain with this atmospheric disturbance going on, which is that peak there. And now she becomes a woman. So this, as a woman here, you're seen here, and she's wearing, you know, that kind of a manta like that. And here is the insignia of Winter Thunder. Winter Thunder. Way up here, way up at the top, that is a pre-Christian Irish symbol for Bridget, and it's made of tule. And tule was used because they somehow made a wick, you know, like a candle wick, like that. And old Druids actually wore their hats woven. I even had a girl up there in Nevada learn how to weave the hat of the Druid made of the tule like that. And so that is also the symbol of Winter Thunder, and that's the insignia that she has here. She's also born of the third world, the insect world. So her head is the head of an insect. And here in her throat there's a red cross. That means that she was the first voice. She had the voice. And here she's holding the frond. This is called the frond of life. Cho'o. Cho'o is a spruce, like a spruce branch there. There are little pieces of red there. That's the flesh of Rainbow, who got blown apart by Winter Thunder because he was having some affair with Thunder's wife, and so he got blown apart, and that's why there are little pieces of his flesh up there. And here, this like a sash like that. These are the Alke Neke. They're called the following pair. Her handmaidens, meaning sunrise and sunset, is basically all that. And then over here, her serpents, her pet serpents, and so it's called a traveling sign. And what happened in the story is that she got tired of living over there in Arizona, and so she wanted to move, and she moved over to Santa Cruz Island off of Santa Barbara, and that's the travel sign. So now here she is as a matron. As a matron, she's also Abalone woman. And so you see the three snakes that brought her over here, and this square symbolizes her house at Santa Cruz. You know, it's mainly called the House of White Shell, and she comes out each door with a certain symbol that gives the clans. And so she becomes there the mother of the Chumash people. So that's all what's going on here with the different phases of her. And down here, this is Grasshopper Girl. In Irish, she's called Maiden in the Grass. And she's the parthenogenic factor. The metamorphosis, she's the germinator, and she's the recessive double of changing woman. She is the factor that makes woman. And so all that. The people called the Navajo by the Americans are the Nadani, the people. And their ancestry has come from somewhere in Central Asia, near Khotan. And that's on the east side of the Tarim Basin, well below Afghanistan. On the other side are the people who the Americans called the Apache. Their name is actually collectively the Apachu, warriors of the lake. And they also served as guards in the Tibetan monasteries. Tibet has many, many lakes. They, in particular, emphasize that aspect of her known as the white Tara. The white Tara is the component to changing woman, but the Apaches have more focused on her as white painted woman or white shell woman, and a young woman in her Canalda, she is actually initiated in that way as a white painted woman. So this is Tara from Tibet. This is a Tanka. And the healing aspect of Tara corresponds with the whole healing aspect of the Navajo culture and changing woman. And this probably was painted, a commission, she's for healing. So somebody had some ailment and they commissioned somebody to paint this. So in the perspective of Tibetan Buddhism, all of us are benefiting. We are benefiting from the display of this Tanka there. And down here where I have this figure to stand for changing woman, in the Navajo, they don't allow any figures made of her. Although in India and Tibet and all those places, the figures of her are prolific. Many, many, many figures of Tara, like that. So there's a whole history of that. The thing is that these two cultures are parallel. One is inside the other. And I particularly see that the Tibetan culture has taken this culture and distilled it. It's distilled it the energies. Yeah. And it is these energies that the sand paintings and the chants and everything are to bring about balance and healing for people. Where in Asia, Tibet and all Asia, she's a savioress. And people appeal to her for any number of things, many, many, many things. And so she's Buddhist, but she's also pre-Buddhist there. And none of that soteriological aspect of that culture has been repeated here. So that's what is interesting, that the Navajo culture, like I said, has distilled these aspects into their fundamental energies, and is conducting those energies. The Tibetans also have sand paintings. The correspondence of these cultures is noted and studied and so forth, including the language. So there's been 2 language studies also finding Tibetan language, in the Navajo language. I also find the Gaelic language in the Navajo language. So all like that. So I do have the horny toad down here. And now the candle is burning down, and there I have a small little sand painting of Grasshopper Girl. So, happy Bridges Day, Changing Woman, and Tara.